how scared she must have been. Like, she had to be like scared out of her mind, thinking, you got my daughter. To kill her? What? For what? Because she asked you to take a DNA test?
Back in March of 2018, Antoine Ware was driving with 21-year-old Jasmine Dunbar and her 7-month-old child when he killed Dunbar. Police found her body in a field near 107th Avenue in Camelback. It had been set on fire. A couple of days later, a couple found the baby alive in a car seat near 83rd Avenue in Camelback and called police.
On the evening of March 6, 2018, a 21-year-old mother and her 7-month-old baby left her home to get a paternity test with her ex-boyfriend. Hours later, the baby was found by the police abandoned on the side of the road, and the mother was nowhere to be seen. But it wasn't long until her burned body was found in an open field. As police investigated, they uncovered something horrifying, which led to the most heartless crimes imaginable. This is the tragic story of Jasmine Dunbar.
The details bewildering and heartbreaking tonight. There is a 7-month-old girl who will grow up without her mother. She was found dead in the desert today.
This area near 107th Avenue in Camelback is the last spot Jasmine Dunbar would ever see. A young woman, a proud mother, brutally murdered, her 7-month-old daughter abandoned in the street.
Jasmine's story will take us to the community of Avondale in Arizona. Now, this community has a crime rate that is 80% higher than the national average, which made it one of the most dangerous areas in the state of Arizona. And it is in this unforgiving environment that Jasmine met her tragic and violent end, becoming yet another victim of the dangers plaguing this community. Jasmine Rain Dunbar, affectionately known as Jazzy, was born on July 6, 1996 to Tanya Smith and her father, whose name is not disclosed publicly. Despite the high crime rate of the community where Jasmine grew up, she was able to foster a resilient personality with the help of her close relationship with her siblings. Her family's close relationship with God allowed her to become a positive person, something that would often be seen on her social media. Her social media presence reflected her kind and spiritual nature. She graduated from Millennial High School in 2015 and pursued massage therapy at the Arizona School of Massage Therapy. But beyond her studies, Jasmine was someone who was described as the life of the party. With that, she had a passion for nightlife and entertainment, working as a promoter for various nightclubs around the community she grew up in. Her infectious energy and ability to unite people made her well-loved, personally and professionally. But behind her active social life, Jasmine maintained a private side, choosing to keep certain personal matters undisclosed, a decision that would later concern her loved ones. One thing that she kept private was her relationship with a man who would change everything for the worse. At some point in 2016, Jasmine started a relationship with a then 20-year-old man named Antoine Ware. The details of their relationship remained largely unknown to the people around her, as Jasmine rarely spoke about Antoine in depth. But what seemed like a beautiful relationship with this young man would soon become a nightmare. Jasmine didn't realize she was becoming involved with a dangerous man. Antoine had a troubled past. He was a ticking time bomb. While little was known about his history then, court records would later reveal that he had prior run-ins with the law, hinting at a pattern of reckless and criminal behavior. However, at the time, this did not matter. By August 2017, Jasmine's relationship with Antoine would result in a beautiful baby girl named Ariel. However, instead of bringing them closer, the child only strained the relationship between Jasmine and Antoine. And as the days passed, their relationship only got worse. Unbeknownst to Jasmine, this marks the beginning of the end. Rather than embracing fatherhood, Antoine questioned Ariel's paternity. His skepticism convinced him that the child wasn't his, and that suspicion quickly turned into resentment. At first, they were just words, but soon they became something far more dangerous. Jasmine eventually realized that there was no saving their relationship. By early 2018, Jasmine and Antoine had officially separated. Their relationship had reached its breaking point, and Jasmine was ready to move forward. Now, she faced the challenges of being a newbie to motherhood while facing it all alone. Despite the obstacles, Jasmine embraced motherhood with love and determination. She juggled work, cared for Ariel, and leaned on her family for support. However, one unresolved issue remained: Ariel's paternity. And Jasmine, who wants to put the matter to rest, would make a decision, one that would set a chain of events in motion, leading to a tragedy. On the night of March 6, 2018, just after 9 p.m., Jasmine, bringing her baby with her, left her home near North 51st Avenue and West Thomas Road in Phoenix, Arizona. Before walking out the door, she assured her godmother that she would return soon, but this would be the last time that she would be seen alive. That night, Jasmine said that she was heading to meet her ex-boyfriend, Antoine, for a paternity test, one final step to settle the lingering doubts about their daughter, Ariel. But a sinister crime was already looming over the unknowing Jasmine during this time. That night, her godmother awaited her return, but as the evening progressed, there was no sign of Jasmine. She wasn't answering her phone, and concern slowly turned into fear. And right then and there, they knew something wasn't right. At first, they held on to the hope that maybe she was just delayed. Perhaps she would walk through the door at any moment. But then, a chilling discovery shattered that hope entirely. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, just before 10 p.m., a disturbing call would be received by the police from a concerned citizen. A baby was found abandoned on the side of the road of 83rd Avenue and Minnesota Avenue in Phoenix, Arizona. And as the police arrived at the scene, they would witness a heartbreaking scene. Trapped in the car seat alone in the night was the baby, who was cold, vulnerable, and helpless, and a bag beside her. The police scanned the area but found no adults besides the people who called them to the area. They were haunted by the question of who left the baby there and why. But it wasn't long until the identity of the baby was revealed. When the officers looked into the bag beside the baby, they found something even more disturbing. Officers found a few scattered belongings inside the bag: diapers, baby wipes, a bottle, and a wallet containing Jasmine's ID. As it turns out, the baby wasn't just any baby, it was Ariel.
It was about 49 degrees. We have a 7-month-old infant just abandoned in a car seat in a dark area along the roadway. What could have happened to that baby on top of it? That's where we have a lot of concern.
Now, only one question loomed over the officers: where is the mother? As investigators scrambled to find answers, the trail would lead them to a horrifying truth that no one was prepared to face. Back at home, Jasmine's family still awaits her return. Holding on to their faith in God to bring her home, the family prayed.
According to police, the baby of this missing woman was found tossed on the side of the road. And tonight, the mother of the missing woman is asking anybody with information to come forward and talk to police.
Where is my daughter? What's wrong? Where is my daughter? Where is my daughter? Because she wouldn't leave her baby, so where is she?
A tearful plea for answers and the safe return of 21-year-old Jasmine Dunbar coming from her worried mom, Tanya.
If you had a child and your child was missing, wouldn't you want somebody to come and tell you about where your child is at?
The woman's picture is now plastered across a missing persons poster as her family holds out hope she is okay.
But a call from the police would turn their world upside down. As they received the news that baby Ariel had been found, they immediately knew that something horrible had happened to their beloved Jasmine. They knew she would not allow Ariel to move alone, and worse, abandoning her baby on the road. Jasmine's disappearance immediately triggered a search for her.
Just into the newsroom, police are asking for your help finding a missing mother after her baby was found abandoned. This is 21-year-old Jasmine Dunbar. She was last seen near North 51st Avenue and Thomas last night. Well, then hours later, her infant was found alone near North 83rd Avenue and Minnesota. There's been no sign of Jasmine since. If you know where she might be, please call Phoenix Police.
Throughout the night, the police searched for clues that could lead them to where Jasmine could be. They even resorted to asking for help from the public to give any information that would allow them to trace the whereabouts of the missing Jasmine. Meanwhile, Jasmine's family was left uncertain of her safety and condition.
I don't want to think like that, but they have not found her.
And according to police, this woman was last seen leaving a home in this area off of 51st Avenue and Thomas, and that was around 9 o'clock last night. And since then, she has not been seen or heard from.
This whole search forced reeling and begging for answers. But one piece of information would steer the case to a devastating focus. As the investigators dug through the case, they came across the name of Antoine Ware. who was identified by Jasmine's relatives as the last person with her on the night of her disappearance. They noted that he was her ex-boyfriend, whom Jasmine left with her that night to get a paternity test. This information led them to believe that Antoine was the primary suspect. With that, the search team began hunting for the hiding Antoine. Soon enough, investigators would come face to face with the man who held all the answers. At approximately 3:35 a.m. on March 7, 2018, police tracked Antoine down at his home. He was immediately taken into custody to question his involvement in the disappearance of her ex-girlfriend Jasmine and the abandonment of a baby. During the interrogation, Antoine changed his story multiple times. At first, he claimed he had picked up Jasmine from her apartment on the evening of March 6, 2018. Jasmine then placed Ariel in the baby seat in the rear of his car. They were heading to get the paternity test, but as they drove, they got into a disagreement. He insisted that after the argument, he dropped Jasmine back at her apartment and left. But the police were not convinced by his story. If that were true, Jasmine would have safely made it back home. This inconsistency led to further questions about why Ariel was found 6 miles from where he supposedly left them. Beyond all of this, Antoine stuck to his story. But it wasn't long until the disturbing revelations would surface. As the police continued to interrogate Antoine, the pressure was starting to mount, and his initial claims were no longer holding up. This was when he admitted to something far more disturbing. He confessed that their argument eventually led to a physical altercation that evening. It was at this time that he punched Jasmine multiple times with his fist before forcing her out of the vehicle. Now, it is important to note that during the interrogation, Antoine had no physical injuries, which meant that Jasmine posed no threat towards him, and it was purely an act of assault. After this, Antoine dumped her into an open field near 107th Avenue and Camelback Road, claiming that she was still alive when he drove away. But his actions after that proved otherwise. Instead of seeking help for Jasmine, who was clinging to her life, Antoine admitted to driving off with the baby, Ariel, still in the backseat of his car. And as he continued driving, he said he started to panic. He then claimed that when he noticed people nearby, he decided to abandon the baby, believing that someone would find her and take care of her. But the worst was yet to come. After he dropped off Ariel on the side of the road in Minnesota Avenue, Antoine admitted to returning to the place where he had left Jasmine, and this was when he did the unthinkable. Instead of returning to help Jasmine, Antoine planned on doing a sinister deed to ensure that Jasmine would not live. He came back with a can of gasoline, and in a cold and heartless act of violence, Antoine placed a piece of paper over Jasmine's body, poured the gasoline on her, and set her on fire using a cigarette. But his cruelty did not end there. He then stood over the scorching body of Jasmine, watching as the flames consumed her. He stood there until the fire put out on its own, and when he saw that the fire was finally extinguished, Antoine got in his car and drove away.
Jasmine's ex, Antoine Ware, was in a car with Jasmine Tuesday night. He beat her up and then dumped her in a field. Documents say that after he abandoned Jasmine's baby girl on the side of the road, he went back to where he dumped Jasmine and set her body on fire.
But even after committing the gut-wrenching act, Antoine was not finished covering his tracks. Antoine confessed that after leaving the charred body of Jasmine in the field, he drove back toward the area where he had abandoned the innocent baby. But as he approached the location, he saw that the police were already inspecting the place, and he knew that if he got too close, he would be caught. With that, to avoid the police, he took the back way to avoid detection and headed straight to his girlfriend's house. He fled and acted as if he had not just burned Jasmine's body and left his daughter alone in the dark. But no matter how hard he tried to cover his tracks, the evidence was already working against him. With his confession, the mystery of what could have happened to Jasmine was finally given a devastating answer. But one more question was left. Where is Jasmine's body? As the detectives dug deeper, one key evidence would put a tragic end to the search for Jasmine's missing body. When the investigators analyzed Antoine's phone records, it was revealed that his phone was connected to a tower near 107th Avenue and West McDowell Road, which placed him near where he had claimed to leave Jasmine, and this information led to the expanded search for the missing Jasmine. But now it is her dead body that is sought after. Then, just before 4:35 p.m. on March 7, 2018, the Phoenix Police Air Unit made a horrifying discovery. There, in an open field near 107th Avenue and Camelback Road, just like Antoine described, they found a charred body of a woman. And while investigators still had to confirm the identity, they already knew the truth. It was Jasmine. As the detectives worked to piece together the final moments of Jasmine, another chilling detail surfaced. One of Jasmine's ex-boyfriends came forward and revealed something crucial. He said he had been with Jasmine just before she left with Antoine that night. He told police that Jasmine had asked him to come over that evening, and when he arrived at her apartment, he saw Jasmine getting into Antoine's car. Confused, he called her immediately. That's when Jasmine told him she was going with Antoine for a paternity test and would be right back. She never came back. Now, with his confession, the testimony of the witness, and the phone records placing him at the crime scene, the truth was undeniable. Antoine Ware had lied, manipulated, and ultimately murdered Jasmine Dunbar in one of the most heartless ways imaginable. On March 8, 2018, as a result of the horrifying deed he did, Antoine was charged with 1 count of first-degree felony murder for the death of Jasmine Dunbar and 1 count of endangerment for abandoning his daughter, Ariel, on the side of the road.
Thank you. Can I get appearances, please?
Scott Wolfram for the state, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir, you are here on a new case out of Superior Court. The counts are 1 count of murder in the first degree, a Class 1 felony, 1 count of kidnapping, a Class 2 felony, 1 count of vulnerable adult abuse, a Class 2 felony, and 1 count of abandoning or concealing dead body parts, a Class 5 felony.
Antoine was nearing the consequences of his crimes, but the battle for justice was far from over. Meanwhile, Jasmine's family was left mourning over the loss of Jasmine, whose life was cut short.
I'm scared she must have been. Like, she had to be like scared out of her mind, thinking, you got my daughter.
Tanya calls the suspect a coward.
Why would you go back? To kill her? What? For what? Because she asked you to take a DNA test?
Even more devastating was the fact that her daughter, Ariel, would grow up with no memory of her. And with this, Jasmine's friends and family gathered together at 107th Avenue and Camelback Road, where her dead body was found. They lit candles, offered prayers, and released balloons to celebrate Jasmine's life there, symbolizing their grief, love, and most importantly, their fight for justice. But this fight would not be served quickly.
Last goodbye for a 21-year-old mom brutally murdered. Police say Jasmine Dunbar's ex-boyfriend lit her on fire, killing her. Tonight, friends are revealing more details on her life and who she was. Team 12's Antonia Mejia joins us live with what we're learning tonight. Antonia?
Caribbean police are still searching for a motive behind the murder. And as they do that, friends are telling us that Jasmine was a promoter at various nightclubs around the valley.
Every step and every balloon is for Jasmine Dunbar. The 21-year-old's friends and co-workers walking to the spot where police found her body.
I don't know if my heart can brace seeing that.
107th Avenue and Camelback.
This is very sentimental to us to be here. Like it took a lot out of us to really be here.
A brief prayer, lighting candles, and moments full of emotions. But Jasmine's friends still remember her in the best way.
Jasmine loved purple.
She kept her life very private.
1, 2, 3.
Her loved ones now grieving her loss and doing what they can to support her baby girl left without her mom.
Her daughter's gonna need all of us if you know, it's gonna take a village to raise her.
Now we're told that little girl is with her grandmother tonight. As for the 20-year-old suspect, he's behind bars at Lower Buckeye Jail.
It took years before Jasmine's case was finally passed on to trial. During these years, Antoine would continue with the horrible doings, even behind bars. While awaiting trial for Jasmine's murder, he became involved in yet another case, this time for smuggling drugs into prison. On February 15, 2024, an indictment was filed against Antoine and 2 other inmates in the Maricopa County Superior Court because of a conspiracy to introduce illegal contraband into the Lower Buckeye Jail. Court documents show that he was involved in transporting and selling methamphetamine and fentanyl, proving that even incarceration wasn't enough to stop his criminal behavior. Despite these additional charges, the long-awaited trial for Jasmine's murder officially began in late 2024. and with the overwhelming evidence against him, no room was left for doubt. In December 2024, Antoine ultimately pleaded guilty to the charges of first-degree felony murder and endangerment. And even though justice took years to be served, it finally arrived. On February 7, 2024, the court sentenced Antoine to natural life in prison without the possibility of parole. This sentence ensures that he will never walk free again and that he will take no other life. For Jasmine's loved ones, no punishment could ever undo what he had done, but at the very least, they could find closure in knowing that Antoine Ware would never be able to hurt anyone again. Let us know what you think about this case in the comments below.